Well, the Trump administration is preparing for war with Venezuela. A few minutes ago, 2 long-range bombers just did some reconnaissance aerial missions, preparing for possible strikes and land strikes. President Trump on Wednesday suggested that U.S. strikes could start on land instead of at sea. Of course, they've hit about 9 of those alleged drug boats, whatever they are. So that now we got to move to the land, of course. We're done with our little sea experiment, Gilligan. We've been treating these, we've been, of course, covering these so-called drug boats now for the past few days. Trump has made similar comments before, and according to multiple media reports, the U.S. is preparing to bomb Venezuela with the goal of pushing out, of course, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, and trying to use, I think, the drug trade as cover for the larger plan here. The author of Provoked is a man by the name of Scott Horton, How Washington Started the New Cold War with Russia and the Catastrophe in Ukraine. This man is a walking encyclopedia of how empires try to create regime change around the world. Scott, it's a real thrill to have on the show today. Scott, welcome to Redacted for the first time.
Thank you. It's great to be with you both. I think again.
Our pleasure.
I think he's been on once before. This is second time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did really?
I
think we talked when Enough Already came out.
Oh, okay. But maybe you did a separate interview. That's right. A couple of years ago. All right. Anyway,
I'm a big fan. It's great to be here. Thank you.
During our live broadcast, I don't think we've had you on during our live show before. Oh. Nevertheless, let's dive into a number of these big stories today. Let's start with Venezuela. After the break, we'll talk about Ukraine and what's going on with Russia. That seems to be barreling out of control. But President Trump calling for perhaps land strikes and seems like getting ready for some kind of a land invasion. What do you make of these next steps from President Trump going after Nicolas Maduro and regime change there?
God, man, I don't know. Right? Unbelievable should translate somewhere near not believable, and yet, geez, in this case, I don't know what they're going to do. And they have no casus belli. They have no legitimate excuse for war whatsoever. And in fact, like, even just on the basic question of stealing their oil, there's only one refinery. Well, this may be outdated information, but the way I understand it, there's only one refinery in Corpus Christi owned by the remaining Koch brother that's capable of refining that heavy Venezuelan crude oil. And I can't imagine the Kochs are behind this, like pushing for this. Like they're not that bad. You know what I mean? They got their problem.
Right.
I can't imagine that's really the push, like their particular interest in, oh, we want to refine and turn that into Citgo gas. I mean, maybe there's a lot I don't know about what the oil lobby is doing in Washington right now, but as far as any threat by the Venezuelan regime against the United States of America, we have nothing like an excuse for war here. You already scoffed at the drug boats because we all know they don't know who they're bombing down there. They didn't even claim that, like, no, trust us. We have some really good super secret intelligence about who these boats are. No. And we already know that they bombed some innocent people. You know, some fishermen that survived, they gave back no charges because they hadn't done anything at all. And so they have no even shadow of a pretext. You think about W. Bush lying us into Iraq War II, or even Netanyahu lying us into Iran in June. At least they lied, right? At least Bill Clinton pretended that Milosevic had murdered 100,000 Kosovar Albanians. Give me something, Trump. And here is...
Well, is this Monroe Doctrine, Scott?
You don't like this guy?
I know. I guess I'm with you on this because I don't think. I mean, our audience is very smart. None of our. I hope that anybody watching our show realizes it has nothing to do with drugs. It has nothing to do with narco terrorism. You'd have to be an idiot to believe that. It has nothing to do with Tren de Aragua.
Well, if I may.
But hold on, let me finish my thought.
Okay.
So is this then about the Monroe Doctrine, the idea that there's some sort of a Chinese influence, there's some sort of a Russian influence in Venezuela, whether it's with oil and gas relationships, China building ports in Latin America? Is this come back to the Monroe Doctrine, as simple as that?
I don't know, but there's certainly no need for military force in order to keep old world nations out of the Western Hemisphere here. And, you know, diplomacy can handle that just fine. America can play plenty hardball with far short of coups and certainly far short of aggressive wars. And I don't know who is advising Trump and telling him that, like, who's the Paul Wolfowitz in this situation? Is Marco Rubio telling him, this is going to be easy, boss. Don't worry. We're going to knock it out in 3 weeks and you won't have to worry. It'll be a star on your legacy. instead of any potential danger at all. I mean, think about the possible downsides. If you're sitting in the presidency right now and someone's telling you to launch an aggressive war against a country with at least 100,000 man military force and a government that's popular, at least among the poor, at least among the people who haven't fled yet. And it's right. It's not like it's an alien regime. It does have some indigenous support in that country. And I don't know how tough a fight it'll be, but we're going to lose how many soldiers over this? Or somebody told him that we can just do it with airstrikes and we'll just get one good lucky strike on the guy, like when they tried to take out Saddam Hussein at the farm and missed on the night of the invasion of Iraq. I mean, this is crazy stuff. Panama is Panama, but I think Venezuela has got to be, and this is not going to be like Panama in '89 at all. This could be a real contest. And I mean, obviously they're no threat to our country here, but in terms of America's ability to just have our way and do whatever we want inside their country, I'm sorry, I am not a member of that religion. I don't know who could possibly convert me, especially after all this time. It's just crazy.
Right.
I think that it's worth rewinding the clock, though, towards the end of the first Trump administration, when the Bill Barr Justice Department indicted Nicolas Maduro for these sort of nebulous charges about narcoterrorism and such. And so that indictment is live. The Biden administration tried to sort of work with Maduro in order to get some oil deals going because the economy was so terrible. But this does very much feel like Trump circling back to what he was not able to do in his first administration, which was, what did we even make of that, do you think? Yeah. What could we get from it?
Yeah, I mean, well, so first of all, going back to what happened in the first administration was they completely failed in their attempt to put Juan Guaido in there. And they had what Justin Raimondo called the Chef Boyardee coup, where they kind of ginned up a riot over the supplies at the border. Remember that? And all this went nowhere because the right in Venezuela does not have popular support, at least. I mean, I can't speak for, all their recent poll numbers or whatever, but they had nothing like the mass of people behind them necessary to depose the president and force him out. And so the whole thing just completely fizzled away. Juan Guaido is considered to be a joke. He called for direct American military intervention in his country, which, imagine if Hillary Clinton said, Russia stole the election for Trump, so I demand China get in here and do something about it, right? She'd have been strung up for that. And this new Nobel Prize winning lady, that's what she's saying too. It's time for America to get busy in Venezuela, overthrow the government with military force, whatever collateral damage, not even worth a mention, to install me in power, please. I mean, this is completely nuts. And whoever's selling the president on this we need good investigative reporting on exactly what narratives they're pushing to him and what it is that he believes, or any skepticism he's shown toward this. I mean, obviously the buildup is very ominous.
So you guys have heard of the bearskin hoodie, right? It's my favorite hoodie. It's the one I'm wearing right now with the removable patches on the side. This thing is built like a tank. This thing is incredibly warm when I walk the dog. It just turned really cold. We got a big cold front that came down from Wyoming. So it's a perfect season to wear your hoodie. And bearskin makes these fantastic hoodies that are built like a tank with 340 GSM microfleece, 10 pockets, a clean, rugged fit that looks awesome. And right now is the best time to grab it because you get 60% off. Right now, they're running a deal for our viewers, 60% off. This is a perfect gift for the upcoming holidays. And this thing looks awesome. It feels great. It zips right into the heavy rainstorm jacket also. So if you're out, it's going to pour down rain, you slide the shell right over the top of it, and the Velcro, just perfect. It just works. It's 100% waterproof when you need it. So if it turns wet, cold, windy, you're not scrambling last minute. You'll get free U.S. shipping, fast delivery, and you've locked in your winter gear already. That's a win-win. So do yourself a favor right now. Text the word redacted to 36912 to lock in 60% off. Again, text the word redacted to 36912. You'll get a link sent straight to your phone so you can check it later if you're busy right now. Oh, and one more thing I should mention. When you support Bearskin, you're also supporting the Fallen Outdoors and the Hope for the Warriors Veterans Program. So you're not just buying some great gear for yourself, you're actually backing a cause that matters as well. So don't wait till you're freezing to realize that your hoodie sucks. Get a Bearskin right now while it's 60% off. Text the word redacted to 36912. I've heard this now from multiple sources. at the White House that Marco Rubio is really the driver here in Venezuela, and this push for this, whether it's some sort of a land invasion or otherwise. So he seems to really have President Trump's ear on this. That's coming from Marco Rubio, sticking his hands in this, of course. And this was one of the first things that Marco Rubio did when he was nominated and became Secretary of State. Flew right down there. So this makes sense. Does it surprise you that Marco Rubio, with the heart of trying to move us towards war with Venezuela?
No, he's absolutely the worst. And, you know, even though we don't have any literal neoconservatives in the administration right now, you know, Ron Dermer comes close and Marco Rubio sure comes close as well. You know, Dermer lurking around, but I mean, Rubio's the Secretary of State and the National Security Advisor as well. So, and I mean, all of us know, just think back to only a few years ago, how well we knew him when he was in the public much more as a senator. Just what an absolute idiot that guy is. What an absolute blowhard he is, how wrong he was about everything. Tagging along with John McCain, mongering war for Al-Qaeda against Gaddafi and on to Syria and on to wherever, Iraq War III and every other thing. Iran, of course, he's a hardcore Zionist. And then, you know, obviously is with the Cuban right that has, you know, strong ties and obviously strong common points of view with the Venezuelan right, who would like to get rid of these commie governments, which, by the way, I sympathize with that greatly. I just don't sympathize one iota with their will to get the United States involved in their problems. I think, you know, Venezuela is actually a real sad case because their right-wing governments there were pretty authoritarian, and it was not like it was a total free society, but they had a very highly developed economy with, you know, all kinds of agriculture and industry and whatever. And Hugo Chavez just hollowed all of that out with his idiot commie economics. And then now he's dead and left Chavez Jr. in charge here. And they've made a hash of this, you know, by nature, it should be an incredibly prosperous and well-developed country. And by the way, the American empire has played their role as well in adding economic sanctions and making it very difficult for them to do business with other countries in the world who could at least help them get by. And that's at least in part, you know, we would have had this refugee problem anyway, but America's economic war against Venezuela makes it worse, their economic problems worse, and makes their refugee crisis that much worse as well. So these Venezuelan gangs in our country are in part blowback from American policy against this country. And again, I could see why people would want rid of them. But you know what? Think about it in our same circumstance, right? Like, what if W. Bush had declared himself president for life, right? And just every day we all woke up in the morning trying to figure out a way to get rid of this guy. But then the Russians or the Chinese came and said, we'll take care of that problem for you. We would kill them. We would not do that. We would rally around W. Bush against our foreign enemies because that a patriot would do that. He's from here. And he got elected, sorta, and that'll be good enough for us. Compared to a foreign power trying to dictate terms otherwise, no. We will solve the W. Bush problem, not them, right? So how could it be that we would expect this to work any other way in any other country? Think about when they tried to do the umbrella revolution in Hong Kong. You know what? Maybe the National Endowment for Democracy should just butt out, right? Maybe some of these things are too far from our purview, and we really need to. And hell, even on the Monroe Doctrine model, leave the old world alone. But even here, the limit of the Monroe Doctrine could be just insisting the old world stay out. That doesn't mean we need to be the dominant power, USA, the dominant power in all of these Latin American countries. We can let them go their own way and let them have their independence. That's obviously what's most important to them because that's what's most important to us.
Now, something you said recently, and I cheered this on, that partisan politics is making a fool of all of us. And so we can take a look at this boat bombing, and no matter what party you fall on, you should not cheer for this because you know that the U.S. government regularly bombs civilians with bad intel. And in fact, I think about this leftist story in the book of Chelsea Manning, where at the time he was a he, so I'm going to call him a he. He says it was his job to gather intel on a terrorist in Iraq. And he said, this guy's moved. He doesn't live here anymore. So if you want to target him there. And then U.S. troops went and bombed the old address. And it was civilians who had moved there. And he was like, I told you guys, he doesn't live there. So we just bombed civilians. You have to think that that is not an unusual story. That is what made him become a whistleblower. And so when we see this, there's no partisan politics that should push us to cheer for this. That's how I feel. Can you maybe expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's a real overall crisis that the center, overall liberal establishment have completely discredited a lot of the good Americanism that they were supposed to be the stewards of, along with their own reputations through especially their wars and their economic crises and the rest. But the thing is, we're supposed to understand each other a bit better so we can work together here. And instead, people are moving further and further apart, and a lot of times based on nonsense. And I'm sorry that I thought it was going to come back, but I did lose my train of thought. Can you please repeat the question? And then
we were talking about Chelsea Manning's book and the bombing, and it's just something that sticks with me every time I see some kind of civilian droning.
Yeah, because what I was going to say was, I'm sorry, I went too far on the tangent, but the point is, they've discredited just even the idea of the presumption of the rule of law as the thing that we can. Is there anything that we all agree on, like the Fifth and Sixth Amendments of due process before we let our government kill somebody when we're not at war with a foreign nation? Or actually, no, that tradition, the Fifth and Sixth Amendment, they're now quaint. They're now discredited along with who, like Biden and McCain and the Clintons and Bushes, who were supposed to protect them, right? And they, by being in charge of our Bill of Rights, they have got their ick all over our most sacred traditions. So now, if it's your president doing the killing, it's okay. If it's Barack Obama murdering people with robot drones or hiring Al-Qaeda mercenaries to suicide bomb them all to death, well, that's okay because he's your guy and he's better than the other guy. Or if it's Donald Trump doing it, well, what are you going to expect? He's got to fight America's enemies and protect America's interests. You're just going to make excuses for it? Or no, wait a minute. The Constitution and the Bill of Rights, they don't change just because there was an election, and they should not in any way be discredited because John McCain failed to protect them when it was his job, right? And the center liberal establishment got their failure all over the entire American system. Pardon me. The constitutional system, and especially the Bill of Rights, are of the highest importance. You're going to let them tell you which church you got to go to? Okay, well, then the Fifth and the Sixth Amendments matter too, right? You're going to let them take your guns? All right, then due process of law also matters. Every word of that is our responsibility to inflict on our government. These are, in fact, if you read the preamble to the Bill of Rights, these are declaratory and restrictive clauses added by the people against them. That's why it doesn't say, we have decided to allow you to go whatever church you want to. It says they have no right to tell us what church to go to. They have no right to take our gun. They have no right to put us in prison without a real process and a jury of our peers and all of these things in order to make sure and all that. That's what the Bill of Rights is for, and it's our responsibility to enforce that.
Can we say, before we take a quick break here, Scott, we're going to talk about Ukraine on the other side of the break. Can we all agree? I mean, it seems like this is a psychological operation. In the run-up to the election, right after the election, it was Tren de Aragua. Now that is the greatest threat to the United States suddenly. It's not Mexican drug cartels. It's now Tren de Aragua. So we never heard of them before. Now suddenly it's the number one thing, the biggest threat to all of us. And now we're going to Venezuela to stop the narco-terrorists, Tren de Aragua, and all of the drugs that are flowing from Venezuela into the United States. It's all a lie, but this is how they're selling it to us. Can we, I mean, do you agree or disagree?
Yes, and in fact, like there's hardly a pretense here, right? All the newspapers already quoted all the government officials saying that it's not true. What? Right. The fentanyl doesn't come from the Caribbean and all of the rest of it, right? This is already debunked. They have no casus belli. They have nothing even like one. And
yeah. You know, I see these people in the chat.
Question. You're so right about their bad intelligence. When they're killing people with drones, when you're seeing that bird's eye view footage, you know as much about the targets as the guy who pulled the trigger. And you take it from General Michael Flynn, back when he was the colonel in the Afghan war. He wrote this giant thing complaining about how we don't know who we're killing down there. And that means that we're killing the wrong people who don't deserve it. And that's making matters worse and worse for us and for our guys on the ground. Now, his solution was put guys on the ground and get better intel. But the point is that they're bluffing when they tell you they know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. You know, they call it a signature strike. that sounds almost like it needs the president's signature on it, right? That they take it to the president. They go, well, we vetted this one really good, Mr. President. No. A signature strike means this guy behaves just like a guy that we killed before. You see how he drives a pickup truck? You see how he does jumping jacks in the morning? You see how he eats breakfast and then he goes and gets his cousin? That's just like this other guy who also ate breakfast and then went and got his cousin. Zap. And then they kill him based on things that are completely innocuous, things that are not incriminating at all. Like, look, he's driving a boat in the same waters where that one guy was driving one time. Zap. You can bet that is the level
that is reminiscent of what Obama did by droning anyone of military age and calling them combatants. That is exactly what Obama did. And I learned from your book, Enough Already, the idea of precision paradox, this idea that they tell us we made this surgical killing. No one else got hurt. And that's never true. So I'm just repeating your own work to you.
And you know, I just for my own personal failing, I just have not had the time to cover this hardly at all. And I'm just grateful that you guys are coming out so hard against this. I mean, this is crazy. We got to do everything we can to stop them from I mean,
no, because I even see
they're going to launch another war. I almost can't believe we're even having this discussion right now.
I know, it's insane. I mean, most people in our chat are like, we've got to stop this. No more foreign wars. No more of this. And then there's some people that are like, yeah, let's kill these narcos.
No, it was a drug boat.
It's a drug boat.
How do you know that? Given the stories we just told you, you don't learn?
And guys,
anyway,